All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining this webinar with Furcata and PSRG, the future of physical security, leveraging the cloud and AI to secure your organization. Just before we get things kicked off here, a couple of housekeeping items. To qualify for the promotional gift, either gift card from Amazon or Rambler, we will be sending out a short post-webinar survey. Please fill that out as soon as it comes in, provide a valid work email address and shipping address. And in order to receive the gift, you must be based in the US, the UK, or Canada. One note here, if you decide to go the Rambler route, it will take roughly 3 to 4 weeks to deliver, and then gift cards take anywhere between 1 and 2 weeks to arrive as soon as you fill that out. So please fill that out. We'll be sending a follow-up email here shortly. But with that, we can run through some of the agenda. My name is Mason. I'm a regional sales manager over here at Furcata. And we also have Peter Berry on the line as well. He's the Senior Vice President of Sales over at PSRG. Before we hand it off to Peter, we'll go through agenda for today. We'll give it to the PSRG team to run through a little bit about PSRG, and then I'll take things over and run through Furcata's architecture, the platform overview, and then, like I said, we have a Q&A section at the end. So as we move throughout this entire presentation, feel free to post questions to the Q&A box, and we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. But with that, we'll hand it over to Peter.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Mason. So yeah, a little bit about PSRG. Really what we are is we're an IT point of sale and security surveillance hardware integrations and deployment company. I know that's a mouthful, but we definitely do a lot. We started the business really point of sale centric focused, which grew into more of a IT solutions, and now into a surveillance solution with our partner Furcata. So we try and approach the Furcata solution as well as our other hardware solutions really with a life cycle approach. So it could initially start, let's say, with a new hardware sale or new solution sale, which then turns into some kind of custom situation. So you could have a custom imaging, custom configuration, specific customization within an installation or a rollout. So we actually employ W-2 technicians as well as subcontract technicians, excuse me, for those purposes. And we install and integrate for Furcata as well. And we've been a partner for Furcata now almost 2 years with their solution, which is fantastic. The third part of the actual life cycle is a management piece, right? And so what we try and do is we try and manage your hardware solution or your just solution in general with either some sort of, let's say, preventative maintenance or spare pool deployment, such as like an advanced exchange situation. And then we also do a ton of depot repair for out of warranty situations. It's pretty awesome that Furcata has a 10-year warranty on their products. So we won't see that for quite some time. But as you can imagine, being involved with point of sale, there's several different manufacturers that we represent that, might have, let's say, a 1-year warranty, and it's not, every day people are changing out their point of sale hardware. So that that extension of the hardware life is a big part of our business. The last piece of the puzzle or solution is sometimes a piece that people overlook, and it's actually the retirement of those assets. So we have a full R2 certified NAID, which is National Association of Information Destruction, certified facility where we do recycling, we do IT asset disposition, we do data destruction. So for example, with cameras and surveillance systems, we can actually recycle and properly dispose of those older assets that might be installed currently, which is why you're looking at a new solution. So it's really the full life cycle is what we're going after, and we can check all those boxes. So with that said, we hope to be aligned with your solution, what you're looking for. So I'll pass it off to Mason.
Awesome. Appreciate that, Peter. And I apologize. I think the slides were going a little bit behind. We will send this recording out as well as the deck following up the webinar here. Again, apologies for the delay in the slides there. But jumping back over to the Furcata side of things. So here at Furcata, we're currently the fastest growing security company in the world. We're based in San Mateo, California, so just south of San Francisco. From a financial backing perspective, we're backed by some of the biggest VC firms out in the Bay Area in Meritech, Sequoia Capital, First Round Capital, amongst others. Some of the same groups that brought you tech companies like Facebook, Uber, Airbnb, some of the larger and faster growing tech companies around the world now. But from a history standpoint, we were founded in 2016 by a group of Stanford and MIT computer scientists, as well as Hans Robertson. And Hans was actually one of the co-founders of Meraki. Meraki, if you're familiar, was acquired by Cisco back in 2012. And, after the acquisition, Hans said, hey, I want to focus on, the physical security side of things. So he joined forces with our other co-founders with really the goal of creating the most modern enterprise security system out there. So what that means for our customers, no more NVRs, no more DVRs, no more servers, nothing outside of just the camera itself, with the ability to tie into an Active Directory if you utilize one. On top of that, they really want it to be scalable. So, we have customers that have, one camera at an entrance. We have, Fortune 5 customers that have deployed globally, across hundreds of locations with thousands of cameras. Regardless of how many cameras you're rolling out, it's easy to deploy because you don't have to worry about the number of available ports on an NVR or a DVR, as well as the server space required if you do have retention requirements for your industry. On top of that, we're doing quite a bit around artificial intelligence applications, things like people analytics, vehicle analytics, object detection, and proactive alerting to go along with it. And one of the unique benefits about our system, whether it's our cameras, access control, or environmental sensors, whenever we push out a new update, that update's automatically pushed to our customers' hardware at no additional cost. So the system's going to continue to get better over time. A lot of those new features come from customer request. So jumping into this slide, if you've ever set up a traditional CCTV system, this will look familiar. You have your cameras tied into a switch connected to that NVR or DVR on site, typically running back to a monitor or a local PC with a thick client. Now, if you want to view this remotely, which most of us do nowadays, you'll have to VPN in, which isn't always the easiest thing to do. It can also be difficult to scale and typically requires you to poke a hole in your firewall or open up a port, which can leave your network open to a number of vulnerabilities. On top of that, that NVR, DVR acts as your single source of failure. If you've ever seen, a break-in a movie, typically, what the suspect will do is go and find that NVR, find that recording device, destroy it, because it's that single source of failure. You lose all your footage. So that's what we're eliminating, and I'll touch on that here on the next slide. But before transitioning, want to touch on the traditional access control setup as well. With traditional access control, we see a lot of the same challenges that we see with your traditional video surveillance. So you have your readers going back to a door controller, hooking back to a master controller, usually connected to a PC, hanging on the wall in some IDF or some, closet, using some outdated software. It's typically hard to use, hard to manage, making it very difficult to make any changes or manage it remotely. And if you want to do that, you subject yourself to the same vulnerabilities you would with traditional video surveillance, where you're VPNing in, poking a hole in your firewall, and it makes investigations extremely difficult. I mean, if you're just looking at this slide here, imagine, conducting an investigation, understanding what was the access control related event, and trying to tie that to a disconnected system, typically outdated video surveillance system to pull the footage. So that's where we come in. It's all within Furcata Command. So here at Furcata, from the camera side of things, as I mentioned, it's literally just that. It's just the camera itself. Each camera actually has solid state storage built into it. We have retention models of 30, 60, 90, all the way up to 365 days, just depending how much retention you need. And that's recording 24/7 at 24 frames per second. So there's no compromises with us like other providers do where, hey, I'm recording on motion to hit that threshold. We guarantee whichever retention model you go with, that's the amount of footage that's going to be on board. And while the cameras are recording, all they're doing is sending encrypted thumbnails and metadata to the cloud for viewing. So they're not going to be streaming 24/7 to the cloud like other cloud providers do. And why that's important is it keeps the cameras at rest, running at only about 5 to 20 kilobits per second. So by far the most bandwidth friendly solution out there. And then you can view this from any device, anywhere, at any time. We have an industry leading mobile application, whether it's for cameras, sensors, or access control, and it's all managed via web browser, which we'll touch on here in a second. So any device that you have access to a web browser, you can manage your cameras, your environmental sensors, as well as all of your doors. And then one of the best pieces about, our entire stack of products is all of our hardware comes with an industry-leading 10-year product warranty. So within that 10-year period, if there is an issue, we have an in-house support team that you can chat with directly from command, or there's a phone or typical email alias. They typically, within command, will respond within 5 minutes. But if it is something that, hey, we want to replace the hardware, you're good for 10 years, and we'll just overnight a new one, no questions asked. And then finally, want to touch on, one of our newer product lines, the environmental sensor. This ties in natively with our cameras, just like our access control does. It'll make a little bit more sense once we jump into it. You can set up proactive alerts. Some of the data points that these sensors are constantly collecting: humidity, temperature, audio decibels, TVOC, particle matter, AQI, to really give you a great understanding of what's happening within your own environment. Finally, over the last few years, since getting going here, we're closing in on close to 6,000 organizations as customers, 40 of the Fortune 500, and again, that number is steadily increasing. Before we jump into the actual presentation, and I'll flash this slide up after we run through the demo. But one of the unique benefits about Furcata, in case of that emergency situation, you can actually send out a live link of one camera, a subset of your cameras, or all of your cameras if you feel the need to. So in order to receive an example of that and get a sneak preview as to what one of our cameras looks like, please send a text with your work email address to 888-343-7537. That's 888-343-7537. And again, text them your work email address and we will send over a live link. Now with that, let's jump into what we call command. All right, so as I mentioned, everything's managed via web browser. So you go to command.furcata.com. Every user is going to get their own username and password that they can create. With Furcata, you get an unlimited amount of users, so no more sharing an IT email with the same password, just trying to keep it as secure as possible. On top of that, we have two-factor authentication and really can integrate with any identity management system that you guys may use. But as soon as you log in, what's going to pop up is this home screen. And from this home screen, I can filter through my cameras, my doors, my sensors, but starting with the camera side of things, from a single pane of glass, I can see a preview of all of the cameras I have access to. So with multiple sites, I can filter through all of my different sites as well as sub-sites. Just makes it easy to manage all of your cameras from this one screen. Now where it gets cool is if I pull up map here, I can see where all those cameras are located around the world. So we've got an office in the UK, we've got a couple offices in the United States and one in Australia. But as you can see, I can now manage all of those cameras from this single pane of glass. I can hone in on certain regions. The majority of our cameras are going to be at our headquarters in the Bay Area. And you'll notice on the right, you can see exactly where all those cameras are located in relation to the building, as well as they're lit up in green, which means they're online, they're healthy. So unlike most traditional systems out there where unfortunately, you won't know if a camera goes down, and typically it's when you go back to try and find footage, only to find out the camera's been offline. We'll actually send a proactive alert saying, hey, this camera's gone down. It's going to populate on the right in yellow as well. The second piece is they all have accelerometers built into them. So if anyone tries to tamper with the camera, tries to rip it off the wall, hits it with a baseball bat, you name it, as soon as the camera is touched, accelerometer is going to kick off, send you a proactive alert as well as a clip of the incident. And then the third piece is they're all machine learning cameras. So if anyone spray paints a camera like sometimes you see in movies, right? As soon as the camera realizes, hey, this isn't right, it can actually pick up on that occlusion event. It will notify you right away, proactive alert, along with the clip of the incident. You can get a preview of each camera by clicking on the icon here. But if we click on Furcata HQ, what this is going to pull up is a floor plan. So with our floor plans, our customers are able to upload really any PDF, whether it's a blueprint, a floor plan, even a Google image, and it gives you a great idea of where all of your cameras are located within a given building, within a given floor, right? So if I know, hey, there was an incident in this hallway, I immediately know which cameras to pull up to go look for footage. On top of that, Furcata gives you some additional insights. If I go to People Heatmap, I can see historically the flow of people throughout my facility. Where are the high traffic areas? With COVID in mind, where are the high risk areas? Where do we need to sanitize a little bit further? And then same process as the Google map. If you click on each camera, you'll get a preview of that live feed. And one way to jump into a camera's view itself is just clicking on that live preview. Now, from here, there's a number of ways to search for information. Below, these are the thumbnails. The camera is constantly pinging up to the cloud. I can filter the thumbnail from 24 hours down to 20 seconds. But if I just hover over, I can get a high-level preview of everything that's happened within that time interval. And one thing to point out are those blue tick marks at the bottom of the screen there. And that's our people counter. So that's identifying there's at least one person in the scene. So as you can imagine, if something happened after hours outside this front door, rather than scrubbing through hours of footage, I can immediately see the time intervals where a person was detected. But the easiest way to search for some sort of incident or footage is just by drawing a motion grid search. So if I wanted to see everyone that's come in or out of this door, all I have to do is draw a grid around the door. And now it's going to populate with the thumbnails below as a preview of that motion. So now it's searching all of the stored footage on the camera, and it's going to give me a preview of every time it's detected motion within that area. Take that a step further. Let's filter by people, or you could filter by vehicles or both. Now it's only going to show me when a person has crossed that plane, or more likely than not, right, someone coming in or out of the facility. And then as soon as you click on that preview image, it's going to pull the footage that's living on the camera's solid state storage. So from here, there's a number of ways to further investigate a scene. You can fast forward and rewind, you can take a screenshot, or you can view this from a different camera. If you wanted to track, it looks like Susie walking in the building, if you wanted to see before the incident, after the incident, or just view it from a different vantage point, all you have to do is add a camera. So if I just add these two cameras here, you'll notice that they all three sync up and replay for me at the same time. So as you can imagine, if I had a camera hooked up in that lobby area, I could track Susie as she walks throughout the building, giving me a full picture of what happened before the incident, during the incident, as well as after. If it was maybe a suspect, where did they flee? And again, this just makes it easy. Using the Furcata Cloud, it automatically synchronizes. Now, if you're looking for a specific person of interest, the easiest way to find that footage is using our people analytics. And with people analytics, the cameras are smart enough to detect, hey, there's a person in the scene, and you can filter on their appearance. So let's imagine, hey, someone reported suspicious individual came by one of your facilities after hours. Never seen them before, but noticed they were wearing a red shirt or a blue shirt. Now you can search on those attributes. So if I search red shirt, click apply, it's going to search this camera, or I can choose to search across all of my cameras for anyone wearing something that resembles red. Take that a step further. Let's say you knew what the person looked like. Maybe it was an employee. Someone said, hey, Ivan was involved in an incident. You can easily scroll through the faces here, or if you had an image of their face, you can upload an image directly to this camera, or you can search across all cameras, upload an image to search, or just click on one that you had saved in the past or searched on before. So if we click Harry here, let's see if Harry's been, at our HQ or at any of our other locations. Again, incident involving Harry, let's go back, let's find that footage instantly just by uploading his face. And then it's a preview of the footage behind it. As soon as we click on that image preview, same process. Now it's going to replay that footage that's living on the camera's solid state storage. So from here, right now this is onboard the camera. If this is the footage that, let's say this is the incident we were looking for, we wanted to save it and ultimately share it, All we have to do, click this archive button where now I can share it for my entire organization, save it privately, blur faces. As soon as I click archive, that will make a copy of it from the camera, and it will save it to the cloud in this archive section where it will live forever until you decide to go and delete it. So I want to reiterate that with Furcata, you get an unlimited amount of saved archived footage or in Amazon Web Services. And then when you go back to actually replay that footage, you'll notice it's timestamped, top left-hand corner, Tuesday, May 11th. Delete it, keep some tags on there, add a note, why'd you save it? What was the incident? Download this in your traditional format onto your desktop in MP4 format. But if you want to share this with Furcata, it's very, very simple. All we do, we click this button here, and now I can share this via text message, via email. I can copy and paste the link. I can set an expiration on that link, give them access to view and download the footage, or just access to view, right? If it's sensitive footage, maybe you don't want them saving it and sending it around. Just by far the easiest way to share footage instantly while also keeping it extremely secure. Now, jumping back into our home page, obviously we hope nothing ever happens as far as emergency situations go, but we do understand that sometimes things do happen. We like to think that Furcata customers are prepared. So for the sake of the demonstration, let's imagine that, hey, maybe someone is breaking into, our headquarters, right? Maybe they're breaking into the garage or, robbing the place, right? First of all, I can easily change SD, HD, want to highlight that. But for the sake of the demo, let's imagine someone's breaking in. I need to call the police. I wanted to give them eyes on the scene as they respond. Again, Furcata is the only solution in the world where you can send a live link of one camera, a subset, or all of your cameras instantly. So I'll flash that slide back up here once we're finished with the demo. If you'd like to receive a live link, you can text your work email address. Now, a couple other things that our customers enjoy with their outdoor cameras, one of them being vehicle analytics. And as you can imagine, if there's an incident involving a vehicle, right, typically what's remembered, the make, the model, the color, maybe, hey, a white truck came by, hit my car and drove off. With Furcata, you can now search on those attributes. So if I knew it was a white car, let's search white car or white truck, and now it will pull up every single vehicle that matches that description. Again, just cutting through footage to make it as easy and fast as possible to find the footage you're looking for. Jumping into the settings of the camera, like any pro or any modern system, Furcata is extremely proactive with motion notifications. You can set up certain days of the week, certain time frames, even specific areas that you want to be alerted. Maybe I want to be alerted right here if a person walks by or is approaching the building, but not on the sidewalk, across the street. And then you can actually filter by people, filter by vehicles, or both, just to eliminate those false positives. And then all of the notifications can be found in this live section where in real time, it will play back all of the alerts that you have set up in a media-like playing experience. Now, one of the notifications that I do want to highlight, here you can set it up via email, text message with all of the proactive alerts I mentioned, but the one I want to highlight is person of interest. And with person of interest, I think it's, one of our most, I would say important alerts that you can set up because it allows our customers to upload an image of really anyone that they want to be alerted. Maybe it's they're a high-risk person, disgruntled employee they've had issues with in the past, or just a threat to the organization, right? Upload an image of their face. As soon as the cameras detect them, they're going to send you a proactive alert letting you know that, hey, this individual is approaching one of your facilities. So again, just another way we're moving away from the reactive system. Something happens, let's go back, let's try and find it, to more of a proactive system. Let's alert our customers as things happen, and in this case, sometimes even before things happen. And then finally, before we jump into access control, want to highlight that help button that I mentioned. We have a 10-year product warranty on all of our hardware, but if there ever is a question or an issue with any of your cameras, access control, or sensors, you can quickly and easily be directed and connect with one of our in-house support team members in under 5 minutes directly from the solution. Now with that, we're going to transition over to our access control side of things. So jumping down here within this live view, this access control live page gives you a true understanding of everything that's happening across your facilities. So think of security team, facilities team, even receptionists. They can put this up on a screen and they can see in real time what's happening throughout their building. And you can always go back and search for different doors or different users. But jumping back to the home screen, this is where I can filter from cameras to the access control side of things here. From here, I can, from a single pane of glass, manage all of my doors paired with the footage or the live feed of the camera I've associated. If I have multiple locations, I can filter through the sites that I have access to. As a user here in Furcata, I only have access to our HQ or in London. And if I had a specific door that I wanted to maybe do a deeper dive on, you can easily type in the search bar. Let's go front door. Pull up the front door, get a preview of the live feed. You click on that live feed, it pulls you into the door's view itself. So not only can you see a live feed of what's happening outside of this door in particular, but you can also see the historical footage associated with every single event at this particular door, which is really a testament to the power of the native integration between our cameras and access control. And as you guys know, access control, or at least modern access control, it shouldn't just be about who gets let in where or when. It should act as an active monitoring system. And with Furcata, we make that extremely easy. Where now from this door, I can filter through all of my events. I can see who's trying to get in that doesn't have access, who's forced a door open, or who's held a door open. Maybe it's an interior door and they may have let someone in that shouldn't have had access. I can easily see those red flag events paired with the historical footage associated. I can see a preview, or I can click in and get that media-like playing experience, the same one we just showed you when you're replaying the footage from the camera, where from here now I can further investigate. I can add cameras, I can archive it, I can send it out. So a process that would literally take hours with two disconnected systems now takes seconds using Furcata. On top of that, like any access control system, you're going to have your access levels for each door, as well as schedules, where with schedules, you can select when the doors are locked, when they're unlocked by default, add exceptions, and it's as simple as just editing, dragging, and dropping. Now jumping into users, with Furcata, with cameras, access control sensors, you get an unlimited amount of users. For managing the access control users, it pulls up this page where you can see when these users were last active and actually search on people in particular. So if I pull up Hans Robertson, one of our co-founder of Meraki, you'll notice that this users page is very similar to the doors page, where I can see everywhere Hans has been, right? When he's unlocked using his key card or maybe using the mobile app. I can filter through all of those different types of events. Where is he trying to get in where he doesn't have access? If he had held the door open, where was that? Or if he forced the door open, where was that? On top of it, you can see his profile. Does he have access to unlock via his mobile phone? Obviously he does as a co-founder, but maybe some employees, you don't want to give them remote access. You just want them using their card or their phone. In this case, with Furcata, you can actually use the Bluetooth on your phone to unlock the door with a reader. And then I can see the type of access that this user has. Obviously, as a co-founder, again, he's going to have access everywhere. We can see the different groups he's a part of that grant him access to all of these doors. But let's imagine that he didn't have access everywhere, or maybe he forgot his key card one day and said, hey, security team or facilities team, can you let me into the garage door? Forgot my key card. Now, instead of blindly unlocking the door, that team can come in here and see, okay, it looks like Hans should have full access. Let's click on that garage door just to confirm that he's there, to make sure that he's there and not someone else. And if he is there, we can just click to unlock. So again, very, very easy to manage not only the doors, but also give you eyes on what's happening around your facility. On top of that, like our cameras, our access control comes with proactive alerting. You can set up alerts on a user by user basis for door held open, if a door's been propped open, or door forced open. And then one of, I think the cooler and newer alerts that we've pushed out is suspicious entry. So if I know that, hey, maybe this user has access to the building 24/7, but I want to know if they're coming by at 2 a.m. because that's suspicious. Let's set up those proactive alerts, and like any alert with Furcata, you're going to get a push notification or a text or an email along with the clip of that incident. And then finally, in case of that emergency situation, again, we like to think our customers are prepared. with our lockdown button here, if there was an emergency where you needed to lock down one building or a subset of doors, click lockdown. I'm not going to click the demo scenario there. It's going to lock down our HQ. And then after the situation is handled, right, you can unlock those doors. So, hopefully it never has to be used, but we like to think our Furcata customers are prepared. Now, finally, transitioning to, one of our newer product lines with the environmental sensors. So as you can see, all of our SKUs can be found up here that are all in your environment, right? Cameras transitioning quickly from the single pane of glass to access control, as well as now our environmental sensors. So our sensors are a non-camera device that can be set up in areas where typically you wouldn't want to or couldn't have cameras, but they can be paired with the live feed of any camera in particular you want to assign. So if I jump in here, I'll show you some of the data points that these sensors are detecting, right? Humidity, temperature, if motion's been detected, noise level, particle matter, tampering, just like our cameras, TVOC, air quality index, and then we do have vape detection that we had rolled out specifically for school districts. But the huge benefit here, right, is understanding your environment. Not only securing your environment, but understanding the quality of the air in your environment. Important for food manufacturers, right? Really any organization. We had some customers come back to us and say, we learned that we weren't changing the filters on our HVAC system as frequently as we should have, and it actually cost us, close to $50,000 to replace one 5 years before the warranty, or 5 years before we typically would. With the Furcata sensor, they're able to detect when they should replace those filters, helping them save money here moving forward. And like anything with Furcata, proactive alerting is really our bread and butter, where if you want to be alerted during certain time windows, you can set up proactive alerts for, let's say, temperature as soon as it gets above a certain level or below a certain level. And then you can always go back and filter through those alerts, where I can see, it looks like there's particle matter had reached a certain level. Let's click on that alert. Now it's going to pull up, again, the footage associated with the time frame of the camera that we've assigned to that sensor. So we do have a little spray bottle that's spraying something in the air that's going to trigger that to show how that would work, and then we can do a deeper dive, giving you eyes on not only what's happening from a data perspective, but also being able to visibly see what could potentially be causing that within your environment. So I know I ran through a lot. Definitely wanted to leave some time for questions. So wanted to jump back in here. Before we jump into the Q&A, I want to pull up this slide. Again, if you want to receive a live link, just text your work email address to 888-343-7537. That's 888-343-7537. And then we do have a free trial program here as well. We can send out some sensors, we can send out cameras. This free trial program starts at 30 days, and we pay for shipping both ways. We will send some more information about this in that post-webinar survey. So as soon as you guys get that today, please fill it out. If you're interested in a trial, happy to send one out. It's also required to receive your gift that was promised, either the Yeti Rambler or the Amazon gift card.
Hey, Mason, Alex has a question, and they're asking, is there any ability to consume external data like POS transactions with our cameras?
Yeah, that is a great question. So we do have the ability. I'm happy to set some time up, really after this call. I think what it really boils down to is the goal of what you're trying to pick up with the cameras, as well as, what external system that you use, because there's a couple of different ways that we've worked with other POS systems in the past, but happy to follow up here after the session.
Yeah, so Alex, definitely put that in your response or in a question on the survey as well, and someone from PSRG will set up that follow-up call with you. Another question from Charlie here. Do you have PTZ cameras?
Yeah, that's a great question. So jumping back into our command here, so we don't have your traditional PTZ motorized cameras for a couple of reasons. One, with our PTZ, When our executive team, was starting the company, they did quite a bit of market research. And what they found is with PTZs, the biggest complaint is, hey, someone moves the camera, all of a sudden they lose it or they leave it there and you miss footage because it's been focused in on a certain area. On top of that, there's a lot of moving parts. It tends to be a little bit more expensive and it tends to break more frequently. And we do have that 10-year product warranty. So with Furcata, we have a couple of options, right? We have what we call an EPTZ fisheye. If I scroll down here, it's like your typical 360-degree view. Let's see, where did they put that? Your typical 360-degree view, which you can what we call EPTZ, drag around and see everything that's going on, right, and zoom in from there. On top of that, all of our cameras have 10x digital zoom. So if I pull up, one of our 4K bullet cameras, right, I can digitally zoom in and focus in on certain areas while not losing any of that coverage. If I'm zoomed in here, right, I'm still recording this entire screen. So those are, a couple of the cameras and options that our customers have moved to away from PTZ, because on top of that, our fisheye can also be set up in your traditional 180-degree view. One camera giving you that entire length of a street, or in this case, a train track, and again, the ability to digitally zoom in. Oops, a great question. Let me go back to the slides.
Excellent. And we got another question from Charlie here saying, are your cameras weatherproof?
Yep, 100%. So they are weatherproof, they're vandal resistant, and specifically for areas, right, where, it gets cold during the winter, all of our outdoor cameras also have a built-in heater. So as soon as it gets below freezing, that heater is going to kick on. And I believe the spec sheets say negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit is what we, guarantee them to last at least through, but we fully expect them to work past that as well. But hopefully it's not getting that cold too often.
And then looks like the last question is coming from Jim here. What happens when the camera loses internet?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a couple safeguards in place. So as long as the cameras have power, they're going to continue to record. So if the building, let's say, loses internet, the cameras still have power, they're still going to be recording. As soon as the internet is back up, they're going to bulk up, let everything back to the cloud, so you'll have all of your footage there. Now, if there's an instance where, hey, we need to access our cameras even if the internet goes out, specifically thinking about, some of our customers in healthcare, which a couple of years ago they mentioned they needed that. So we got to work with our customers developing what we call now offline mode. So with offline mode, if you're on site and you have command pulled up, internet goes out, you'll still be able to access your cameras through the LAN with our offline mode enabled.
And Alex has another question here. Can you talk about the bandwidth requirements for deployments of, let's say, 40 plus cameras per location?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We have a bandwidth calculator that we could run you through. From a high level, the way that the cameras work, when no one's actually clicked into them, they're just sending those encrypted thumbnails and metadata, right? So it's not streaming when no one's looking at the camera. So that's at rest. At that point, they're using about 5 to 20 kilobits per second per camera. Now, when someone's actually looking at the live feed, what the camera is doing is sending one stream to the cloud, and then the cloud handles the multiplexing. So, for instance, our base kind of dome camera, if you will, that will spike up to about 300 kilobits per second. But you can handle an infinite number of concurrent viewers on that one stream, and it's only going to use the bandwidth for that one stream because the cloud handles the multiplexing on the back end. Specifically for 40 cameras, if you will, we can follow up and run through a bandwidth consumption calculator, but it really comes down to a few factors, right? How active are you guys in the system, and which camera models you go with. But I can tell you, from a high level perspective, we have the most bandwidth friendly solution out there, and happy to dive a little bit into the weeds there with you in a follow-up call.
Awesome. Everyone, don't forget to fill out those post-webinar surveys. So if you want a free trial camera, any questions that come up, please feel free to put that in there as well. but also that is where you can claim your gift. So you get either the gift card or that Yeti tumbler or Rambler as well. Rambler will take about 3 to 4 weeks to deliver. Gift card should be probably within this week if you guys submit that one as well. But any other questions, please put it into that post-webinar survey as well, or follow up with POSRG directly. And if you would like us to do this for anyone, other members on your team as well, please reach out to POSRG as well, and they'll happily set that up for us.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for your time. I appreciate everyone and all the questions.
Thank you, everyone.
Again, as Pete mentioned, we'll be sending out the follow-up email here shortly.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, guys.